women have dating and life on easy mode.
Yes.
Okay.
This.
I'm actually, when your little sugar daddy situation came about, like, there's no women hitting me up like, oh, Brian, let me fucking fly you everywhere. Here's
any sugar
$14,000.
mamas listening? Brian wants you to
There's
hit
some sites for you. You can sign up if you would like.
I'm not saying that sugar mamas don't exist, but like it's probably
the ratio is not
for every one
remotely
sugar mama,
close.
there's 100 sugar daddies.
Probably more.
So I've been waiting for you to bring this up. Because we brought up earlier the hookup culture, right? Yeah. You guys love to say and complain about women and hookup culture and this, that, and the third. What if men just raise your standards and you guys stop sleeping with everyone? Then maybe your lives wouldn't be so difficult. You keep complaining about, this and that in the hookup culture, and saying that we control hookup culture by, like, if we don't sleep with you guys. No, how about you guys stop sleeping with everybody, and that'll be the fix you want to see.
Here's the difference I would kind of point out to that. You say you guys, but what I would argue is when it comes to hookup culture, it's actually a fairly small proportion of men that you could say are responsible. So I think what's going on in hookup culture is you have women who are chasing after the top 10, top 20% of men. They're sleeping with all the women, and then the rest of the guys are lonely. They're not getting any.
I would say there's more men who are indulging in casual sex than women are.
Yeah. No, I think it's the reverse.
No. I would agree that it's the reverse.
I think that if perhaps you can make the argument that men are more inclined to just pursue casual sex, but that's very different than actually being able to get it. The men that are able to regularly get casual sex is a much smaller cohort of people compared to, like, almost any woman, even if she's overweight, she can be in hookup culture. I would argue, like, a overweight man, he doesn't have access to hookup culture.
So I'm not saying that it's easier for men. Women have more access to sex, correct? But that doesn't negate the fact that they try so hard that they still end up being the most people in hooking up in casual sex. Because there's men, yes, they might not get it on their first try, but they're still trying to. So even if it takes them all night long, even if they have to go up to 10 different women, they're leaving that night with a girl in hand. I know many men like that, and they are mid. They are not some chads or the finest men in the room. No, I know very mid men who take home a woman if they want.
Well,
they're
but
gonna leave with
they
one
might
that
be
night.
bringing something else. They might have some charisma or a game. Obviously, you were in the nightlife. You're a bartender, so like when you get alcohol involved in the picture,
and it's not saying it's right, but even in Isla Vista, that's usually a play in majority of scenarios. So I think
both men and women are drinking. I mean, that's
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying I'm saying like yes, it's not right that they're using this alcohol, but I'm saying that's what's happening majority of the time is both parties are drinking. So
it's like it's like the liquid confidence for guys.
Right.
Like they're gonna be less scared to approach a girl if they're a little intoxicated. They're not going to be as nervous, anxious, etc.
Right, but I still think like there's more if you count the amount of men versus the amount of women who are
engaging in hookup culture.
Because I would be like,
disagree.
Guys will take home. Guys can take home 3-4 different girls a week, and nobody would bat an eye. Right? A girl might be having casual sex, but usually it's either they're repeating partners or it's not the same because you will get judged for that, whereas a man wouldn't. So girls are more inclined to not do that. That's why
sneaky
when I mean
links.
that, yes, but that's not what a sneaky link really means. But I'm saying that if you count it out, there's going to be more men who are doing that than women.
I mean, it's not like with dating apps and social media and like meeting people at parties and bars and clubs and stuff. There's as a woman, if you want to kind of keep a low profile and hook up with a shit ton of men, you can absolutely do it. It's this idea that they're going to be judged. Like, who? You can be sneaky.
You can do it. Not really in these years. I mean, everyone here probably has roommates. You're gonna notice if your roommate's gone every night and doesn't have a boyfriend. Like those things don't get non-picked up. They might be you could be a little bit more hush hush about it, but usually things start going around. Guys are gonna start talking. Guys love to talk about their sexual encounters. So even if she's quiet about it, he's gonna go tell his homie, and that homie's gonna tell that homie. So I mean, it's gonna most of the time it gets around pretty fast.
So you're saying that when it comes to getting sex, that it's actually pretty comparable, like even if you're a mid guy, if you really want it, like you can just go get it?
Yes, but I'm not saying that men have more access to sex. I'm not saying that. Women do have more access to sex, but I'm not saying you have to be a 10 out of a 10 amazing looking or rich man to get a woman. That's not true, because
I will agree with that to the extent that I think that the top 1% like attractiveness of men are getting, sex 7 days a week, whereas like a average looking guy is probably getting sex once a week. I would still, at least in my... Or zero, but I would say that there's definitely more men that attempt to partake in hookup culture. Are they as successful as women can be? No, but I think there's probably more in terms of volume of men partaking on a regular basis than there are women. But women obviously have more access in terms of they don't have to try nearly as hard as men do to partake in hookup culture. Yes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. Yeah.
But I will clarify my stance because
I agree.
No, I will. I'll clarify my stance on hookup culture. I'm not saying like it's only women to blame. I think both men and women need to become equally as accountable. I don't agree that men should be left to sleep around. I don't think that at all. I think both need to stay accountable, but at least for me, I think that men care more about a woman's past, whereas like in terms of seeking a relationship, men care more about a woman's past and women care about men's future. So women are a lot more inclined to be like, oh, I can fix him, whereas men are not. Men will see like a dirty past, see baggage, and be like, nah, she's not worth it.
Yeah. But if, let's say a man does see that, isn't that a red flag to you? Like, let's say you do partake in hookup culture and some guy places that much emphasis on your body count, who you've been with in the past. To me, that means that I'm immediately no longer interested in him. The fact that he is putting that emphasis on like previous relationships, when that's clearly not what matters. I wouldn't judge a guy for however many people he slept with, and I wouldn't want him to judge a woman for that. And honestly, that's like not even a red flag to me. That's done deal. Like, I would not be interested. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
No, you're good.
Well, so you're saying past doesn't matter?
Well, past doesn't matter is a very broad statement, but I'm saying past in regards to body count does not matter.
So like it was like 100 plus, you'd be okay with that?
Well, I would want you to go get tested first if you have 100 plus.
Let's say it's 100 plus, but he's clean.
That would be more of a conversation to have about, that's not like, it's not something I would write off just immediately. You've had 100 bodies. Oh, suddenly I'm not going to date you anymore. It would be more like, okay, so why? Why were you hooking up with that many people? Are you still like planning on hooking up with that many people? I feel like it's more of a conversation about where the future is headed, because who you were doesn't mean that's necessarily who you are. So I don't think people should just be like judging immediately just because you have a higher body count or maybe you have a lower body count. It doesn't matter to me, at all. And if it is a super high body count that maybe even like shocks me, that's a conversation to be had. Like, you work through those things.
Do you object, for example, let's try to kind of reverse the scenario. Would you object to a man not wanting to be involved with or date a girl or even hook up with a girl if she had a body count of 100? Do you think that that's judgmental? Do you think it's wrong for him to use that metric to disqualify her?
If it's like, if he really liked her personality and was like really into her and stuff like that and just finds out her body count, doesn't ask any more questions, that's a deal breaker. Look, everyone's living their own lives. I'm not gonna, I just feel like that's a conversation to be had first, but if that's a deal breaker to you, that's a deal breaker. Like, there's nothing you can do about that, but I think...
Do you object to it?
Object to him asking, or him caring that she has a plus 100.
Do you think that perhaps do you think maybe he's insecure? Do you think he's immature? Although you may acknowledge that, yes, for some men this is a deal breaker, or it might be a deal breaker, do you take issue, maybe you think, well, that it shouldn't be?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to draw a line where a lot is too much. So for me, when it gets to those things, I wouldn't judge as much for that, but I still think that it shouldn't be an immediate deal breaker, but I don't know. Like that type of thing is, I don't think it's that important to have a conversation about, because I think that boils down to the individual. Whether they have a problem with that is something that they would discuss with their partner, and I don't think it's something that everyone needs to be commenting on, and so everyone needs to be judging someone who has plus 100 body count. That's for them to deal with.
Don't read it.
To answer your question, if there's a problem with that, there's only a problem with someone having a problem with the body count over 100 if their body count's over 100. Like if that guy's body count is 100 or near 100 plus, then yes, there's a problem with him having a problem with that girl's body count low. But if his body count's low, he hasn't slept with many people, then I would understand having an issue with your partner having 10 times amount bodies as you. That's why you have to stay relative to what you're working with.
Well, do you think, so you're saying that if a guy, he has a high body count, it's wrong of him to want a woman who has a low body count?
Yes, or at least judging her or writing her off right away, because it's like, you did the same thing. Like, why does it make it any different?
Yeah.
It's a little different.
I personally,
different.
I don't mind if guys take girls' body counts into account when pursuing them, because, well, I'm comfortable in my decisions, and I feel like we're automatically assuming that low body counts are what's desired, but I'm a virgin, and guys, like, not all of them think that's a good thing. Like, some get mad, like, not mad, but they'll be like frustrated and think that's a negative because they're like, oh, she won't fuck, don't want to talk to her. Like, so
it has nothing to do with you being a virgin. It's just the fact that they think it's going to be hard to sleep with you. So it's not like they're mad because you have a low body count.
That's just because they just want to have sex, and because you're a virgin. I mean, look, there's some women who are virgins who are they're not particularly inclined to wait a long time. Are you waiting until marriage, or?
Not specifically.
You're just maybe looking for the right guy, for love maybe. Okay. Yeah. But, probably for most guys, they hear that, they're going to think, okay, I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine.
I think it's fair of them to take my body count into consideration when deciding whether or not they want to pursue me.
Right.
And I don't take offense if they would prefer to pursue a girl with a higher body count.
Well, I mean, that's probably good for you, because if their primary interest when it comes to courting you, and they're weeding themselves out, so you probably wouldn't want to date a guy that just wants to fuck you.
Yeah.
So there's that. But where did